The Los Angeles Dodgers, they're the juggernaut. They're the bad guy. They are going out and getting every Japanese player to form a super team of Samurai Japan on the west coast of America. But guess what? Not every Japanese player wants to join. If you can't join them, beat them. And that's what Tatsuya Imai is saying. And my overreaction is that Tatsuya Imai is not the hero we deserve, but he is the one we need. A story came out earlier this week that the Japanese starting pitcher, one of the top available arms on the market this winter, said, quote, about the Dodgers, I want to take them down. I think beating a team like that and becoming world champions would be the most valuable thing in my life. Now, whenever something like this happens, Jordan, and we get a player in Japan, we talked about this with Yuri last week. We get a player in Japan given a quote about where they want or don't want to play. It's hard to like timestamp that quote, and it's difficult to like understand the totality of the quote because you and I don't what?
Speak Japanese.
Speak Japanese, correct. We don't speak Japanese. However, there is an article on MLB.com written by friend of the program, Michael Clare, and friend of the program, Ayako Oikawa, that has it all laid out for us. And boy, does this make me like Tatsuya Imai.
You're not giving this enough credit because this is not just a story coming out. The context here is crucial. This is a conversation that Imai was having with fellow Seibu Lions icon, Daisuke Matsuzaka, who knows a little something about pitching in Major League Baseball, and coming from NPB to MLB with much fanfare. And this was just a very conversation that, again, was translated in many different places, but I think that is important too, including by Yuri, which you can go look on his, of course, on his account, Yahoo Cosmo. If you haven't listened to our conversation with Yuri last week, with way more Imai stuff, which was honestly helpful. We asked about Imai's personality and just like the kind of dude that we think he's going to want to be once he gets here, and how we've gotten to know these Japanese players from a personality standpoint in a very interesting way over the past few seasons. And the quotes in here about him basically being like, not just I want to beat the Dodgers, saying, of course, it would be cool to play with Ohtani and so on, but beating them would be even more special. He also has some very interesting quotes about, okay, do you want to be, not just do you want to be on the Dodgers, the best team, with all these other Japanese players, but on the concept of playing with other Japanese players. This is another thing that I think culturally we're left to trust those who know the language and who understand the background of these individuals about whether players coming over for Japan would prefer to be with other Japanese players or not, because we've gotten varying reports on and I'm sure it's case by case. Clearly, I think we've learned that it is not.
Yeah.
It is not a one size fits all situation, and there is not one thing that determines whether they let you. But Imai, the quote here again, I'm pulling from Yuri's translation. Since they went to the U.S. before me, I could, if this is on the concept of if he was playing with more Japanese players in MLB. Quote, since they went to the U.S. before me, I could ask them questions like, what did you do in the situation, right? But actually, I don't really desire that. I want to have a sense of survival on my own. There are going to be cultural differences, but part of what excites me is how I'm going to figure out a way to get over these hurdles on my own. So, do we take that to mean there is a 0% chance he is signing with the Dodgers or the Cubs? Or who else has a Japanese player right now? The Red Sox. Yoshida's, he's still on the Red Sox. The Mets is saying still on the Mets. Who knows? The Angels with Kikuchi, right? Like, okay, does that mean there's 0% chance he's signing with those teams? No. Let's not go overboard. But it's a compelling piece of evidence that if the situation is right, he might prefer to kind of go out on his own. Now, let's be clear. What is going to matter in this, as it does in any free agency, who's going to show up with the big check?
Money.
You know, and that's good, as it should, right? He's a Scott Boras client. You know, money's going to talk here. But regardless, I think that this is a nice preamble to a nice setting the stage for what we like to think that he he prefers, not from some vague report from someone that knows Imai. Like, this is him saying it to Daisuke Matsuzaka on television. I think we can take that for something.
Next week, a week and a half from now, next week, you and I are going to be in the Dominican Republic, okay? And you know what we're not going to do down there? We're not going to eat at Applebee's, all right? We're not going to Chili's, right? We're going to go and we're going to experience the realness as much as we possibly can. And that is what I like the most about what Imai is saying, where it's like, could I be comfortable? Sure. But that's not why I'm doing this in a way. Like, he's not coming to the States so that he's not leaving Japan so that he can hang out with more Japanese players, right? Like, he wants to push himself beyond. Now, let me be clear. Us choosing to not eat at Applebee's in Santo Domingo does not raise to the level of Tatsuya Imai playing for the Reds or something. However, I think you get my absurd point. And this, I will say, this excites me. Like, this is the type of quote that I want to hear. And I will say this. He leaves the door open a little bit. Of course, I'd enjoy playing alongside Ohtani, Yamamoto, and Sasaki. If he ends up with the Dodgers after delivering this quote, is honestly going to hit even better. Like, he is, by offering this statement, he has only raised the stakes of his free agency in a way that both outcomes are more compelling to me, right? If he goes full evil and just joins the juggernaut and is like the 6th starter or whatever, that's hilarious.
Well, right.
And if he goes to the Diamondbacks, and like, that's also great.
Yeah. And obviously there's some like in-betweens, right? Like, if he goes to the Padres because he wants to beat the Dodgers, but he gets to hang out with Yu Darvish, it's like, okay, well, what do I do with that? You know, you get a little bit of both. And Yuki Matsui, sorry. I don't want to forget about him.
Yeah, please. But the last thing I'll say, it is easy for him to say this relatively also, because he's probably not going to the Dodgers because they're probably not signing a starting pitcher, right?
Yeah,
and
probably not.
If the Dodgers didn't have Tyler Glasnow and were in the Tatsuya Imai sweepstakes, I don't think Scott Boras would like his client going out on television in Japan and saying, oh, the team that gives out more money than any other team, I'm not particularly interested in playing for them.
Yes. But this is obviously the easiest layup for Yankees fans who are like, we've been trying to chase down another Japanese star for a while now, and that has not happened yet. Is that a Yankees priority right now? Who's to say? We will find out. But that is certainly what that smelled of. And the last thing I would say about this, regardless of some of the things involving whether he wants to play with Japanese players or the cultural difference, I do think that the element of the Dodgers having won again, I've thought about this a lot, not just as it relates to Japanese players, but like, will players want to keep joining the team that keeps winning? I think that generally, yes, they just want the most money and to win. So if it happens to be the Dodgers, then great. But I do wonder if it does add the element of like, I want to be the guy to take him down, which obviously no individual player is capable of doing regardless. But I do wonder if the fact that they just won again strengthens it a little bit more than, say, a year ago, where it's like, okay, yeah, they won once and I want to go join them. But it's not the same thing of like, oh, this is the team. This is the standard above everybody else that just went back-to-back for the first time in decades. Like, again, it's not the most important thing in free agency. I recognize that. But in terms of how players are talking about the Dodgers from the outside, I do wonder if that adds to it.
I think it depends on the type of player. Where like, if you're a late in your career player without a ring, you would rather go take a little less from the Dodgers, like Kirby Yates type, right? Where it's like, you're a veteran reliever and you're looking for a ring and you go to the Dodgers. I don't think it really moves the needle for a guy like Kyle Tucker. If the Dodgers pay him the most money, he'd go to the Dodgers. If another team does, he would go there. And then when he goes to the other team, he'll say, looking to knock off the Dodgers. And if he goes to the Dodgers, he's saying, looking to never lose a World Series. Like, it's just, to me, that narrative comes in at the end rather than during the process.